Hello Stoughton, and welcome to another edition of Community Forum here on SMAC. I'm your host, Adam Dawkins, and I thank you very much for tuning in with us today. We have today with us two very special guests. We have Mr. Peter J. Fredrickson, who is the Director of Estate Planning at BOC Life Solutions, a licensed subsidiary of the Bank of Canton. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
And we also have Attorney Matthew J. Marcus, who is a partner with Colucci, Marcus & Flavin, PC in Milton, and he concentrates in estate planning and elder law. So we have some very interesting topics to cover today that are of concern to everybody that have to do with estate planning and all sorts of things that we don't always think about, but all of us should be thinking about. So first of all, gentlemen, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I guess I'd like to start by asking you simply, what does estate planning mean? What is an estate plan?
Sure. Estate planning is a general term, but in essence, it means passing assets as efficiently as possible to the next generation. So that can be accomplished through wills, which we'll talk about, and trusts. It can be done through a beneficiary designation on a life insurance policy. But in essence, it's trying to pass assets as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah. So what are some, I guess, who should have an estate plan, or what age should people have an estate plan?
Well, in a sense, estate planning is usually for people that have some assets. Mm-hmm. So in our society at this point, people generally don't accumulate much by way of wealth until well into their 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
It's not a hard and fast rule. There's some very wealthy 25-year-olds,
Sure.
but generally not. So usually people in their 40s or 50s, or when they've had their first child, that's typically a good first time to look at it.
Yeah. Is it ever too late to get an estate plan?
No, I don't mean to be crass about this, but obviously after somebody's passed away, it's too late
Right.
at that point. But up until that point in time, not really, no.
Yeah. What are some of the implications if somebody dies without an estate plan? I've in my own role as a nonprofit fundraiser, I deal with estate planning a great deal on behalf of nonprofits, and I've seen too many people that are associated with our organization who die without any kind of an estate plan or any kind of a will in place. What are some of the implications that you've seen of people who die intestate?
Sure. So intestate, as you
Right.
know, is dying without a will.
Right.
Some of the implications are assets go to the wrong people. They, through a will or through a trust, you can direct to whom you'd like your assets given or set aside after you pass away. Could be some negative tax implications if you want to leave things or assets to a charity or some other organization like that. They may not be done properly without the proper documents. And then just difficulty for the family. Going through the probate court system can be difficult and stressful. So those, I think, are the major disadvantages.
Yeah. No, I have seen in my own work some real sort of disaster situations with people who end up dying. Particularly since I work for a large church, our own congregants have seen people pass away without any kind of an estate plan or anything in place. That even someone who's unfortunately young and gets hit by a bus and doesn't expect to die, but dies and has certain assets, and then the court then has to figure out what to do with those things. And
Sure.
And unfortunately, that doesn't always necessarily correspond with the wishes, I think, of the individual, with maybe what they would have wanted. So,
Especially if it's a congregant that may want to leave some assets to a church or a different charity. If they haven't specified that in their estate planning documents, it's just not going to happen.
Right. So, I mean, if somebody is older and is looking at going into a different kind of living situation through a nursing home or through an assisted living facility or something along those lines, and they don't have an estate plan in place necessarily at that stage of life, can the nursing home or can the assisted living facility or care facility, can they take everyone's life savings? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, and in fact, it's likely a probability in most people's situation if they haven't done any planning in advance.
Yeah.
Having said that, some people are interested in doing that asset protection planning. Other people are ethically or for some other reason opposed to that, and that's perfectly fine. But that planning is available. A lot of that nursing home planning does have to be done well in advance, typically at least 5 years in advance.
Right.
So it's not the type of last-minute planning we can do in other situations. So if somebody does enter a nursing facility, for example, there are often things we can do, but sometimes there's nothing we can do, and their life savings could very well go to a nursing facility.
Right, right.
I would add, however, that the sort of emergency planning that we are able to do, if you hadn't done any planning at all, what Matt referenced is in some circumstances you can do a very special type of annuity. It's called a Medicaid planning annuity. You know, you may have even heard of that on the radio from time to time, people advertising it. And it's something we can do at Bank of Canton. We're able to, or BOC Financial Services, we're able to put people into that type of product that will protect your assets. It's special circumstances, and you know, you definitely need to review that with us, with the attorney. And I definitely don't want people thinking, you know, just because you may have an annuity doesn't mean that annuity is going to be effective. It's a special type, it has special language in there.
Sure.
But that is also available, especially for people who are sort of feeling like, gosh, I didn't do any planning and now this nursing home situation is upon us. My spouse is going into a nursing home, what do I do?
Right.
There is an avenue, there's the potential that we could help them with.
Yeah, it's a very daunting possibility that you know, you work hard all your life and you save and you try to be financially responsible and then, you know, because you haven't planned correctly or you haven't completely laid out all of your plans, you really could lose all of your assets possibly to a care facility if you haven't set up something correctly in order to prohibit that. Is that fair to say?
Very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in this area where the cost of care in a long-term care facility in a nursing home is typically $13,000 to $15,000 a month.
Yeah.
There's not many people that can withstand that for too long.
No, that's right.
And the same can be said about tax planning. There's certain tax planning that's available to people that can save their kids or their family a lot of money. So it's all available.
Right. So you mentioned a moment ago setting up a trust. Can you talk a bit more about what a trust is and how that really can help? And is a will always sufficient, or is a trust really something that should be done on top of a will?
Yeah, we want pretty much everyone to have a will. That's
Sure.
your baseline estate planning document. But we also want people to realize that a will all by itself may not accomplish everything they want to accomplish. Number one, it doesn't avoid the probate court.
Right.
So you could have the best will in the world, but if you pass away with a house or a bank account in your name, it doesn't automatically pass to your children. It has to go through the court system. So one advantage of having a trust is avoiding the probate court system. There are many different types of trust, but the most common type is a revocable living trust, which is really meant just to avoid the probate court.
Yeah. You mentioned a revocable trust. Can you also talk about what an irrevocable trust would be like? Because I know there's revocable and irrevocable. So
Right.
Can you just maybe explain the difference between those two things?
Yeah, so revocable essentially means the person that's setting up the trust, that puts their house or their bank account into it, can just take that asset out the next day if they want to,
Right.
or change the trust, or terminate it anytime they want to. So they still own everything in the trust, they control it. That sort of a trust, again, anything in it will automatically pass to their children, for example, if they should die, but it doesn't do any nursing home protection because they still completely own the asset. So that would be, for nursing home planning, an irrevocable trust. And the key differences are that the person that set up the irrevocable would not be the trustee, they would not be the beneficiary, and they cannot change the language in that trust in the future.
Right.
So it is certainly giving up some measure of control, but the advantage is the nursing home protection.
Yeah. So when we talk about trusts, a lot of people, I think, maybe certainly wrongly, I think, tend to think of trusts as something that wealthy people have.
Sure.
So if you're somebody who doesn't maybe consider themselves to have a tremendous amount of financial wealth, is it still important to have a trust, or is a trust something that essentially is available to everybody, I guess is a question.
I mean,
Yeah.
just dealing with, I'm a financial advisor at the
Sure,
bank,
right.
and so, we deal with certainly wealthy clients, but we deal with people that, wouldn't be considered wealthy, and I can tell you that, yes, they'd certainly benefit from having a trust, because avoiding probate is a worthwhile endeavor,
Sure.
you're making life so much easier on your beneficiaries. So if you own a home, if you have some assets, you don't have to be a millionaire. Having any assets at all, it's going to be worthwhile for you to avoid probate and just have things set up so that you're making a comfortable transition for them at a difficult time.
Right.
You're basically doing, it's all about them,
Right.
really. A trust really isn't about you. It's about your beneficiaries and making life easier for them. So.
What age would you say most of the folks who come to you looking to set up a trust? How old are those folks generally? What's the average age of a client, I would say, for such a thing?
Well, the people coming in to see us are typically, I want to say, in their late 60s, early 70s, and they're mostly concerned about nursing home. That's what's motivating them,
Sure.
and with good cause. I mean, as Matt said, it's very expensive to be in a nursing home these days, and they would like to protect their assets as best they can. So that's the age we're typically seeing people that are determined to, take care of that problem.
Right.
But as Matt said, you don't have to be of that age. It's going to be beneficial for you if you have assets and you care about making that transition easier for your children.
Yeah, I've just, as I mentioned a moment ago, in my own professional work, I've seen so many horror stories of folks who die without any kind of plans in place, and I don't mind saying I'm 40 years old, and I already have these instruments in place for myself, because you just simply never know. And I always recommend to anybody that I can tell, you should always have a will, and you should really consider having a trust. And I think it's just incredibly important that everybody think about things we don't want to think about, which is the end of life kind of issues that really make life so much easier for those who are coming after us, to our family members, our loved ones, the folks that care about us. Otherwise, we can really leave a mess for those folks if we don't have some kind of end of life planning in place for the inevitable.
Yeah.
Sure. And even before we get to a will, to be honest with you, there are healthcare proxies for medical decision making. If somebody's so sick they can't communicate with their physicians, we'd actually begin with that even before a will. Durable powers of attorney, so somebody can pay your bills or do your banking if you can't do it yourself. So even before we get to the level of a will, which is a pretty basic document, there are even more basic documents we like to have in place.
Right, absolutely. So, what are some ways that BOC Life Solutions can be of assistance to the community? That if I came to you looking to have a conversation about setting up these sort of instruments and maybe reviewing my own financial situation in such a way that I want to make sure that I'm leaving things in a decent position for those who I love, what would that process be like if I came to see you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, we started the program about 6 years ago. Very successful program at the bank. We've been able to help a lot of people put these documents in place. And the primary concern was people, certainly customers at the bank, we were finding didn't have these instruments in place, and they weren't quite sure where to go. Who do you trust? And we knew we had a relationship with them. Like, they trust their bank, and so the bank put this program in place to say, you know what, fair value. We're gonna give you the documents that are gonna help you out at a fair value for you, and it's been very successful. The process we tried to make very simple, and it's pretty much a 3-meeting process is what we have it down to. So the first meeting is complimentary. We don't even charge for that first meeting, which, by the way, an attorney with 25 years of experience, that's hard to get.
Sure.
He's going to spend 30 to 40 minutes of his time with you to go over your situation, get some information from you, and then basically establish for you what your plan would look like. From that meeting, you can then, go forward or not. And again, there's no charge for that first meeting. If you decide to go forward, there's going to be 2 more meetings at least. The second meeting is going to be a review of the legal documents that Matt, the attorney, prepares for you. He sends them to your house, you look them over, and then we'll set up a meeting with him in person to review them. And oftentimes at that second meeting, you're signing the documents, we're witnessing them for you. And then Matt will take those, he'll bring them back, he notarizes them. Oftentimes there's deeding property into the trust that's involved, so he takes care of all that, he does the title work. And then in a third meeting, we're delivering those documents to you and reviewing titling issues, just reviewing the documents. And titling is an important step. That's one that's often overlooked. Something like 90% of all trusts are ineffective because people don't take the time to put the asset in the trust. Right. So we're going to take the time to review that with you and make sure you title your assets properly, which ones need to be titled, which ones you can leave alone. And then from there, it's just set it and forget it. And I think the best thing about our program at the bank is, we're not a law firm, so we're not operating that way. So if you call us 2 years from now and you have a question or you want to make a change, we'll do that for you. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to get a bill. Right. There's no billable hours involved. It's you set it and forget it. So I think it's nice that we sort of wrap our arms around you and your family, and if, God forbid, something happens, you have a resource that you can call, and you don't have to fear that, oh gosh, I'm going to get a big bill for just having this conversation. Sure. You're not going to get the bill. Right. So it works out well.
Right. As a nonprofit fundraiser, I have to ask, of course, too. Can you maybe give me some examples of why somebody might consider leaving a charitable gift in their estate plans, and what some of the benefits of leaving a charitable gift in their estate plans might be? I mean, if somebody decided to leave a gift to their house of worship, to the library, to any kind of a local charity that's near and dear to their heart, what might be some examples of advantages to doing such a thing in your estate plans?
Yeah. I think the key advantage is fairly obvious, and that is it's satisfying. It's something that the person wants to do. They have a long-term relationship, typically with their house of worship or St. Jude's Children's Hospital, whatever the charity may be. So I think that's at the top of the list for most people, giving back in a sense. Number two is there are charitable deductions, whether those gifts are made during somebody's lifetime or after they pass away. It can serve to reduce the estate taxes, the death taxes basically, that would otherwise be due. So it can essentially make their money last more or last longer for its intended purpose.
Right. Well, everything we're talking about here really is about legacy, isn't it? It's about leaving a good legacy behind, not just for the people we care about and our loved ones and our friends and our families and those who've been close to us throughout our lives, but also for the organizations sometimes that are important to us.
Absolutely, for the community.
Right, for the community.
And some people are very involved in their communities and others are not, but the ones that are typically do want to leave something behind.
Right. Why don't we take a quick pause quickly for a couple of messages then from some of our community sponsors.
Hi, it's Gary LaPierre, and the crew wants to thank Maxie's Delicatessen. That's at 117 Sharon Street in Stoughton. They're 781-341-1662. American Cancer Society, yes, they're looking for volunteers. Drive cancer patients to and from their treatments. 1-800-ACS-6662, or just go to www.cancer.org. Ilsa Mark's Food Pantry in St. Anthony's Free Market, 2 Park Avenue in Stoughton. For more information, call Christine Gallagher. That's at 781-341-0611 or 781-341-0549. Meals on Wheels. Just ask for Jessica. You'll find her at 781-344-8882, extension 2. Stoughton Penny Saver. Our business is advertising your business, they tell us. 27 Rose Glen Street, Stoughton, 781-344-4833. Community Forum showtimes in Stoughton. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m., Tuesday at 5 p.m. It's on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. All comments and suggestions welcome. Contact us at communityforum1@yahoo.com. Samaritans, they're at 41 West Street on the 4th floor in Boston, 02111. Their phone number is 617-536-2460. 24-hour helplines for Samaritans, and the number is 877-870-HOPE. That's 877-870-4673. Samaritans, you can find them at 800-252-TEEN. That's 252-8336. Or find them online at SamaritansHope.org.
Okay, we have Monday Night Bingo coming up of the Ahavath Torah congregation at 1179 Central Street in Stoughton. Everybody likes to yell bingo. Doors open at 4:30 and the games start at 6:30. It's a great way to spend a Monday night, and you might just even win. And you'll support a great congregation as well. Get Fresh, Stoughton's own cooking show, which I can heartily endorse myself, and you can watch my cornbread show while you're at it. New episodes are coming soon. Comcast Channel 9, Verizon 28, Monday 5:30, Wednesday at 8, Thursday at 9 a.m., and Friday at 5 p.m. And of course, tune in for the Hometown Business Show on Tuesdays at 11, Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m., Thursdays at 8 p.m., and Sundays at 7 p.m. Again, Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 28. And of course, here's the Bank of Canton's information here, 490 Turnpike Street in Canton. Their phone number, 888-828-1690, or visit them on the web at www.ibankcanton.com. And we're back, and so gentlemen, just as we start to wrap up our conversation here, other than the obvious that sometimes people just don't want to think about end-of-life issues, what are people's biggest concerns about getting an estate plan? What sometimes stands in the way of people doing this?
I mean, I think there's a few things. One is they think it's going to be overly complicated. It doesn't need to be. You can make anything complex and difficult. This planning doesn't need to be. Beyond that, sometimes it's the cost. They think it's going to be $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. It could be, but it would not be through the Bank of Canton's program. And I think what you mentioned, I think it's a difficult subject to address for most people. We try to be very sensitive about that and make it as simple as possible.
Yeah. Speaking of, what does getting an estate plan normally cost? Is there? I mean, I know that there's a huge range, I imagine, of cost depending on how complicated one's situation is. But what do the costs? Is there a structure that you could introduce us to, or what does a cost look like for putting together an estate plan?
Sure. I mean, I'll share the bank's costs. I mean, we're very transparent about it, and we invite you to compare. I mean, I know the closer you get to Boston, the higher that cost is going up. So.
Sure.
I mean, is it fair to say, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for an irrevocable trust is not out of the question. Bank of Canton we have 2 tiers of pricing. So, traditional estate planning includes a will, a revocable trust, a healthcare proxy, a power of attorney, a will for both husband and wife, all those documents for both husband and wife, deeding the property into the trust, taking care of the title work. We charge $2,350 for that service, and that's soup to nuts. I mean, there's no additional cost other than the Registry of Deeds charges about $200 to record the deed into the trust. So that cost gets passed on, but outside of that, you're never going to get another bill from us. There's no billable hours, and as I said before, you can call us and change it. 2 years, 3 years from now, call us with questions. You're not going to get a bill. Right. For the Medicaid planning, it's a little more expensive. So all of that plus an irrevocable trust. And it's not uncommon, by the way, for clients to have both. You can have a revocable and irrevocable trust. That's a very common way of doing it. And, that pricing is $3,450. So, to completely take care of everything, protect your assets from the nursing home, we feel like it's a really good value, and we're happy to put it out there.
Yeah, I think it's an investment worth making. It sounds like it is. It's such a complicated matter. It's one of those things that I never recommend to people. They try to go it alone, unless you happen to be a real financial professional, or an attorney yourself. It's really one of those things. It's you really need to look for some outside assistance to put these things together, because it's too complicated to get wrong.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, I think that we all know there's websites you can go on and you can write up your own will. Certainly that's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about, presenting your assets in front of, mass health, nursing home situation. I think you want to make sure you get that right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody wants to see everything they've worked and saved for their entire life, and all of a sudden it disappears because you had to go into a care facility.
Right.
Yeah. So. What is the number one takeaway, do you think, for our audience today? What if we had to summarize this entire conversation? What's the number one takeaway for today?
I would say, and Matt, chime in. You have access, to a service with really a free consultation with an expert in his field. You know, Matt's been doing this for 25 years. He's a specialist in estate planning. This is what he does. I think that's invaluable. I don't know why you wouldn't take advantage of that. And then based on that conversation, you've got the flexibility to go forward or not. You know the pricing, you know the Bank of Canton, and we worked hard to, you know, present our customers with a good value at a fair price. And I can't imagine why you wouldn't take advantage of that.
I would agree with all that. I would also say it is much simpler than most people expect it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as you said a moment ago, it doesn't sound like it costs anything to stop by and kick the tires.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I think that sounds like a good takeaway to at least give this some thought, and hopefully this program and this conversation will spark some interest and remind people how important it is to have these kinds of plans in place. Rather than taking your chances and going it alone, or simply dying without any kind of plans, because there's just too much at stake for you and for the people that you love to leave them in a mess. So I think the audience hopefully knows how to get in touch with you. But if there's any particular contact information you'd like to share with the audience before we sign off, how do we reach you?
Sure. So I'm the director of the program. You can reach me and Matt through my information. So, you know, my phone number is 781-830-6152. You call me directly. We'll set up a time with me and Matt. My email address is pfredrickson, so pfredrickson@thebankofcanton.com. And yeah, you just give me a call, and it's that easy just to get the ball rolling.
Well, thank you both very, very much for joining us today. This has been an important conversation, and I'm delighted that we could have this. It's not always an easy thing to talk about, but it's an important thing to talk about, and I'm glad we could have this on the program today. Thank you, Stoughton, for joining us today. Thank you for your time, and thank you for tuning in to what is a topic of great importance. Thanks for tuning in to SMAC and to Community Forum. I'm your host, Adam Dawkins. Have a great day. Stay cool out there, Stoughton.